All right, here we go. Well, thank you for having me, I'll be real quick and get to the fun part, which is to getting to learn a little bit one of our newest Quest suppliers. So again, my name is Robert Gutierrez. I serve as a global sourcing manager for HEB. Been in that role for about 11 years, and I've done a couple of other duties in my tenure at HEB. But today I was invited to talk to you a little bit about our initiative at HEB that we've been having on for 9 years now. It's called Quest for Texas Best, which is our way of supporting small businesses around the state of Texas. And again, we've done this process for nine years now. And over that 9-year period, we've reviewed over 5,500 submissions. We've had 860 products actually have earned shelf placement, $600,000 in prize money, and about $900,000 in-kind mentoring support. And a lot of our Questies, what we call our Quest alumni, have claimed an additional $2 million in other contests, some grants, and angel investors that have helped them grow their businesses. 40 of our Quest suppliers over that time period have been awarded our $1 million belt buckle, which again is awarded to any supplier that has reached the $1 million in sales. So I do an invite right now. Typically we would have the dates, but we don't have the dates for next year, the 10th anniversary. We hope that it's the biggest one ever. Typically we open submission process during the late month in February all the way to early April. But this year, what I want to do right now is invite over Ashley and Sandra from Texas Iberico, who were one of this year's Quest for Texas Best finalists, and learn more about their journey and their experience during the competition. So, Ashley and Sandra. Hello. So I guess we'll take a seat.
This is Ashley. These are some very happy and highly prized Texas Iberico pigs. My son, Ashley, has already done more for over 1,000 troublemaking pigs in one morning than most folks will do for themselves in one whole week. His livelihood depends on their happiness. The pigs are raised exclusively on Ashley's patch of Texas prairie. Here, they get their fill of native grasses, prickly pear cactus, wild yucca root, mesquite beans, and live oak acorns. And when that's not enough, Ashley is there to give them premium feed with no antibiotics ever. Then Ashley watches his free-range pigs run around the ranch, living it up and burning off much of the fat he's worked so tirelessly to help them build. It's part of why it takes 18 months to raise a Texas Iberico pig. That's 6 times longer than ordinary pork. Sometimes they break expensive equipment just for fun. They've even been known to rip out water lines so they can play in the mud. It's not easy keeping them so happy. It's exhausting, unpredictable, and often thankless that Ashley never takes a day off and he doesn't have time for anyone's sympathy. So why on earth does he do it? It's not because ranching is in his blood, though it is. It's not because Texas Iberico pigs actually help to restore the pastures they've been raised on, though they do. It's also not because Texas Iberico charcuterie is some of the healthiest meat around, but that's also true. And it's definitely not just so the pigs can enjoy the benefits of some of the highest animal welfare certifications in the country, although that's all true too. He does it because if he didn't, Texas Iberico wouldn't be the most delicious pork that ever graced a fancy dinner party, 5-star restaurant, or Fireside board meeting. Thanks to Ashley, it is. Taste what makes it all worthwhile. Taste the joy of Texas Iberico.
Awesome. All right. So during this past year, we had 565 applicants to this past year's Quest for Texas Best event. And so that equals to about 18 hours worth of video that we had to review. Each applicant has to do a 2-minute video submission. I can tell you right now, that was probably one of my favorite 2 minutes out of those 18 hours, because I kept watching it over and over again. But let's start with you, Ashley, and then we'll go to Sandra. Ashley, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and how'd you get into this business?
Sure. Can you hear me? Yeah. All right. So we started raising these pigs about 5 years ago. They were flown over from Spain. They flew over a couple hundred of them. we partnered with the original guys. Then we kind of broke off, did our own thing, and took this crazy ride. Prior to that, we did cattle for about 15 years. And, the 11 drought took us about out of that. So we were getting out of agriculture altogether, and this lady told me, oh, you need to talk to these Spaniards about these pigs. And I said, oh, I'm not interested in raising pigs, but here I am raising pigs. So, it's been interesting. So we met Tim Harris out of Virginia. He's the one that originally partnered with once we broke away, and it just kind of went from there. You know, I do more of the ranch, and they drag me on these stages, and this isn't really where I belong, but Sandra's better at this than I am, so go ahead.
Sandra, tell us a little bit about yourself and how do you support this business?
Great. There we go. Hello.
I'm Sandra. Ashley often says that he likes animals a lot more than people, so even getting him up here is a big win, so thank you for being here, Ashley. Thank you, Robe. So I came on board officially with Texas Iberco about a year ago. I was in specialty food distribution for a number of years and worked with Whole Foods Market on the retail side, and a little over a year ago, left my position in specialty distribution and started my own business. And along with that, I had met Ashley and Tim about 4 years ago and helped them on their initial journey get into Central Market and with their charcuterie line, and never really left their side and became more and more involved. And I guess I would say now I'm the wrangler of the company. And at the beginning of the year, we went out and did a little seed fund, and I became part equity owner of that as well. So I'm in Austin, Texas, and have a consulting company for food producers, but I'm also running Texas Iberco. It is a really special project, and earlier on the last panel, they said, you know, your dreams can come true, and Ashley said, sometimes it feels like a nightmare. And as small business owners, I think we all know that, but this journey, especially Quest for Texas Best with HEB, has been a huge highlight for us, and it was on our list of dreams.
So, well, let's talk about that dream. Take us through how that experience was this past year, and take us through the initial selection process and putting together that video and kind of what your experience was altogether.
Yeah, go for it.
Well, a few years ago, of course, Ashley had stated that HEB, being from Texas, myself and Ashley, that's the partner that we wanted to be with. And as a small business owner, you cannot just take one approach. You have to hit something at all angles, every angle. And we were already pursuing getting into HEB, but knew we really wanted to enter Quest for Texas Best since we knew our product was very special. We are a small business and learned that we needed to submit a 2-minute video. So with very limited funding, I know that there was somebody earlier asking, how do we know if our money for marketing is being put to good use? So all of the footage on this video was taken on my iPhone probably 2 years ago at a visit to the ranch. And we were able to partner with a really great boutique marketing company in Austin, Texas that said, we love this project, we believe in the story and what you're doing, so we'll do the video for you. We provided the footage we already had, and they put something very spectacular together for us. So that process, pausing as producers, you have to fill out a lot of questionnaires for HEB as you do the process, and that makes you pause and ask questions about your company. And that was something as a team that we had to do, and questions, why are we doing this? What are your favorite products? What are the attributes about your products? And that was really helpful to us as a team. And then, of course, getting our first call from HEB, Rove called me and said, do you want me to tell that story?
I've already apologized enough for that, so.
Okay, so, again, we were excited, wanting to know where we stood in the competition, hundreds of applicants, and still continuing the conversation on what product could we put into HEB. I get a call from Rovet, and he says, you've made it into the top 20 semifinalists, but you have to come to New Braunfels and present and interview in front of some of our HEB store partners. And, oh gosh, that sounds intimidating. So Ashley and I went. We get there, and there's 10 producers there, and they put us in this room, and Rovet comes in and says, okay, so we want you to know that there were 10 finalists, semifinalists before you, and we already chose 5. So only 5 are going to make it to the final round. And you could feel the anxiety in the room go up quite a bit. And these are all people that have done the same amount of work, put their passion in, small producers from all over Texas. And everybody's looking at each other. And then he says, during your presentation, and there were some words that came out of my mouth that was like, presentation? We're supposed to be doing interviews. They're walking us through the store, and then in great HEB fashion, surprise, big jump out media presence of, you are in the top 10 finalists, and you get to go to Dallas and present, and totally pulled one over on us, and it was this gentleman right here, so questionable. The experience in Dallas was unreal, and we spent a whole day at panels with previous Quest finalists and learned a lot about the HEB onboarding process and got to spend a lot of time with the HEB team. So the whole, if you do food, if you make, there was a soap producer.
For food and general merchandise.
Right, general
Yes. Yeah, no, that's great.
And I would suggest and encourage you, if you make a product and you say, my product can't, there's no way HEB would ever carry my product. You know what? They would. And you don't have to win. You don't have to be a finalist. If you have a great product, the company will support you and get behind you potentially. And so pursue it, follow it, and as they said earlier, maybe your dreams will come true.
Awesome. So if you do the math, we've had 860 products on the shelf since the inception of this competition back in 2014. But we only pick, 10 to 20 finalists every year. So if you do the math, we picked a lot more products to get on the shelf, regardless whether they're a finalist or a winner for that matter. You guys were not one of the top 4 winners this year, but you're going to make it on the shelf. So ultimately, I think for any business, that's the biggest goal, right? That's the biggest win. So during this process of, this whole process of starting your business, what was your biggest fear about going into retail? Can you explain a little bit about that? Or your biggest challenge for that matter?
Oh, yeah.
Going into retail, making sure that we had the right product selection, the right packaging, and for those of you that might know a little bit about Iberico pork, it's very expensive. As you saw in the video, these animals are raised for 18 months. They're free range mostly, they're on pasture. These are not inexpensive animals. And so we want price is so important because if you price yourself out of the range that a customer is willing to pay for your product. So it was packaging, making sure it was the right product for the consumer. Do people actually want this product? Is it a trend that might have already passed a year ago? And then the right price point. And so we really had to step back and look, could we get there? Could we be on the shelf? And then could we stay on the shelf? Which is always the challenge in our...
I'd say is the biggest challenge is to keep that space, because you always have product behind you coming in trying to earn that space away from you, right? But what about, tell us about what's been the most surprising part of this whole journey, not just the Quest, but just in general. I mean, you mentioned a little bit about how you were hesitant to get into raising pigs. And but just the most surprising aspect of this whole business.
That people keep putting me on stage.
And asking you this question, right?
Well, I don't know, you've mentioned also just the things that keep happening, right? For all the planning and the things that you feel like you can control or that you think you've thought of, and all the safeguards you put in place.
Right.
Things happen.
Things happen, and having the right people, on your team, to do different aspects. So I focus on the livestock, and they focus on the, all the marketing and all that. So it's just having the right people for the right job, I think.
So your biggest learning so far, I guess, from a lot of times, I know personally in my career I learn more from my mistakes than I do from my wins or anything. Every time I do something good, but mistakes that we all make during our journey, whether it be your career, your business. Tell us a little bit more about what a mistake that you have made, and maybe you learn from that and improve maybe in a process, or just a better understanding of something that you weren't aware of or didn't know about at the time.
Do you want to speak to
I'll let you go on that one.
Only one. Don't pick.
Yeah, there's a lot of them.
that? Which one?
I don't know.
Lost logistics.
Yeah,
I know you've had some issues with logistics
Yes.
and the whole process of finding the volume, right?
Yes,
I know we've had some of those. Can you elaborate a little bit on those?
Absolutely. So when I did meet Tim and Ashley, I fell in love with the project immediately, but their approach was selling one pork chop at a time. And a business is not going to survive at that. And so stepping back and realizing that they needed to pivot and make charcuterie was, I think, a big turning point for Texas Iberico. And then they learned very quickly, now we can't only sell this product and thrive if we're selling at farmers markets. We need to put a goal out there and get into a retail account as quickly as possible. And one of the biggest challenges that I experienced and saw happen was a loss of, how many pigs did we lose? 90?
It wasn't live pig.
They were not live, which also is heartbreaking. But seeing what you saw in the video and the time and the care that goes into raising these animals, and then being a very small business, we did lose a whole truckload. And logistics, if you make a product and you're in goods and services, many of you have felt the challenges that we all face with logistics right now. And it was heartbreaking, but it taught us a huge lesson on transparency with who's moving your product, communication, choosing the right partners, and then just when you think that you can look away and not double check on things, don't. Always be on top of the most important pieces of your supply chain. So now Ashley just went through a harvest, we call it the slaughter, and there's always a moment of us holding our breath. Like, pigs have to get there, they have to go through the slaughter, they're frozen, then they ship again, and it's always a relief when we say, well, that was good. So we did learn from that, and it was a heartbreaking challenge.
Right. So who here makes a product that could potentially go into the retail store or any of the store? No one? Well, I echo Sandra's comments. Logistics, for one, it's a huge part of this process, and understanding when you have a product, it starts with passion for that product, right? It could be either an old family recipe or something you learned that, when you were in the military. Now you want to, whatever, and you created a product, and that passion took you to that development of that product. But then there comes the hard part. How do you make money out of that product? How do you generate a business out of that product? And one of the biggest challenges I see is that people put passion, all their passion, and all or put all their bet on that passion. They're betting on that passion, and that's going to work itself out, all the other details, and that's not the case. There's logistics that you have to understand. There's marketing that you have to understand. There's things that are, boring but important, like insurance, that you have to understand. How do you protect yourself from the potential loss of a truckload of pigs in this case? So it's definitely important that you understand and take advantage of all these resources that are out there for you to understand how to get that passion and that product into a profitable business. So tell us what just in general has been the most surprising, part of your journey so far. Something that maybe you weren't expecting, but wow, like we're here already, or we've done this. Maybe an example of something that happened.
Oh, yeah.
Quest.
Quest was a huge one, and the fact that people that get it, and I'm sure as a small business owner, for some of you, I don't know what businesses you have, but you have an organization or an idea that you think is the greatest idea in the world, and it's been so surprising to me that when you meet somebody and we tell them what they do and they say, that's amazing, how exciting, that's really cool. And to me, we're meeting more and more people that say that. And that's been, I guess it's not surprising, but it definitely gives us reassurance that we're doing the right thing, we're moving in the right direction, and putting our passion is paying off.
What's something that you would do, knowing what you know now, would do different today? Even going back to when you said, well, I'm going to get into this pig raising business, something that you would do different today.
Wouldn't have messed with the fresh meat in the beginning. The fresh meat, yeah, it was too. Oh, am I not? Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah, the fresh meat was a challenge, I think. So the charcuterie, the cured meats was the way to go with these pigs. So we wasted a lot of time. And that's another thing, it's just how long it takes to get there. We still haven't arrived. So we've been doing these pigs now for 5 years. And, HEB is a huge deal. That's always been the goal. But, it's still a grind. We're not there yet. We still got a lot of work to do. So just keep grinding, every day.
So I know Brian just pointed out we have 5 minutes, but does anybody have any questions for Sandra or Ashley or myself, for that matter, that they want to learn about HEB or their business? Yes, sir.
I got a question on the quality control over time. What does HEB do to ensure that the product is stable and that sort of thing?
Well, I can let you speak to that in your experience, because I know there's different categories and different things, but we do have quality assurance teams at all parts of the process, especially for our private label program. We were just talking about it right there behind. Our private label program, for any product, private label means any product that has a HEB brand on it. We have a very rigorous audits that we put in place for any supplier that's doing any co-packing or any manufacturing for an HEB product. And they have to be what's called Global Foods, GFSI certified, which stands for Global Food Safety Initiative certification. That I think there's about 8 or 9 different quality assurance certifications that lump into that bigger umbrella. But they're very strict quality assurance processes. However, they do differ from category to category because some of them, for example, the meat industry does have probably some of the highest standards when it comes to quality assurance. So I don't know, maybe actually, can you elaborate a little bit about?
Yeah. So from the very beginning, so as far as animal welfare, right? So we have third-party audits that come out once a year and do an audit on the ranch. And then when the animals are slaughtered, we do it in Fort Worth Meat Packers, so it's a USDA inspected facility. And then from there, it goes to Kevin, our cure master, and he's also inspected. So all through the process, there's checks and balances to make sure that, quality is where it needs to be.
What did you guys think about the product? Did you guys get to try it? So I just literally came back this weekend from Spain, and I was telling Ashley I got to taste a lot of meat again there. It's not my first time there, but I got to come back with a fresh reference for Spain ham, Spanish ham, or other deli meats in there. And I can tell you right now that this is equal to, or if not better than, a lot of the product that I tasted in Spain. So congratulations again, Ashley and Sandra, for this amazing product and great business. And we look forward to having you as many HEB stores as we can. And we hope that you guys are able to find the product as well and enjoy the fruits of their labor. Because I know it's a lot of hard work. And a lot of the product that you see at the stores, you don't get to see the backstory or what happens, all the steps that need to happen for that product to get there and all the, hard work and effort that's put into that. So congratulations again on your business. And again, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you. And you can find our products at HEB. Starting, I would say, second week of November in the deli cheese department.
Just in time for holidays, right? Oh, awesome.
Little pitch right there at the end. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.